The San Francisco 49ers are signing another player in NFL free agency. Why did the Niners trade running back Jordan Mason away to the Minnesota Vikings over the weekend? And what happened with Dre Greenlaw? Why did he leave the Niners to sign with the Denver Broncos in free agency, despite the efforts from the Niners in trying to bring him back to the Bay? Let's begin with topic number one here. Another addition to this Niners roster, and yet another addition to this team's special teams unit, which has seen a massive makeover this offseason. Cameron Wolf tweeting this out, that special teams ace and defensive back Siran Neal finalizing a 2-year deal with San Francisco. More on Neal as a player. He was a 2018 fifth-round pick out of J-Ville St, and he was with the Buffalo Bills from the time that he was drafted all the way through the 2023 season. Signed with the Miami Dolphins last year and spent 2024 with Miami. A lot of experience throughout his career, mostly as a primary special teamer, 114 games played with only a lone start. And speaking of his special teams impact and his ability with that third phase of the game, he's played at least 80% of special teams snaps the last 2 years. In the last 3 seasons, he's logged at least 316 special teams snaps. So throughout his entire career, more than 2,000 snaps as a special teamer, 625 defensive snaps up to this point. And if you remember, during the end of the season press conference for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan was pressed and asked about the lack of resources devoted to his special teams units and why his special teams units have been so bad pretty much since he was hired back in 2017. Now, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan kind of bit back at that narrative, and they've said, look, we've invested money towards special teams players, but here's the deal. The results for the Niners special teams have not been good enough under Kyle Shanahan's watch. Hard to get worse than what they did in 2024. They were awful as far as special teams EPA, and they were awful as far as special teams DVOA, finishing 31st among 32 teams in the NFL. In 2023, not much better at 25th. In 2022, middle of the road, 15th. And when you think about this Niners team, right, if Kyle Shanahan can have his offense going the way that it's capable of going, and if the defense can make improvements, and I'm talking about this going into 2025, if Shanahan can coach up to his caliber, and Robert Saleh can coach up to his caliber, being middle of the road as far as your special teams unit is not a bad place to be, as long as you don't make awful mistakes and huge blunders in big games, like San Francisco did in Super Bowl 58 against the Kansas City Chiefs. But if you can live around that 15th range, that's okay, because you can make up for it if your offense can fulfill its expectations and the defensive side of the ball can carry their weight. But when you're 26th, you're 25th, and you're 31st, it's just not going to cut it. That can cost you games, especially in the biggest of moments. In 2020, special teams DVOA, 23rd. 2019, they were good, 12th. 2018, 14th. 2017, 11th. These units were led by Richard Hightower, and then Kyle Shanahan decided to fire Richard Hightower. He has since gone to the Chicago Bears. The Bears have solid special teams units, and they have over the last couple of years. And then the Niners hired Brian Schneider. He was a good special teams coordinator for Seattle. Never worked out for him with San Francisco. To Shanahan's credit, the Niners have addressed the special teams unit by bringing in quality special teams players in free agency, and he moved on from Schneider in hiring Brant Boyer from the New York Jets. And you look at all of the Niners' free agency acquisitions and additions so far this offseason, Luke Farrell. Yeah, backup tight end, a good blocker. The Niners see value there, but they also see value in him contributing on special teams. Patrick Taylor, backup running back, more of a special teams player. Richie Grant, special teams impact. Luke Gifford, linebacker, one of the top special teams performers over the last few years since he entered the league as a UDFA out of Nebraska. Jason Pinnock, he can contribute on special teams. Trey Brown, special teamer. John Weeks, He's the Niners' new long snapper after San Francisco moved on from Tabor Pepper. And then Siran Neal, not just signed to a 1-year contract, a 2-year deal. So the Niners clearly like what he can bring to the table as a special teamer. And then when he has played defense, more of that slot type of corner. And you have to pose this question. And this is something that has crossed my mind. Is this the Brant Boyer influence? Robert Saleh knew him when Saleh was the head coach of the Jets. I think it's pretty telling that Boyer survived 3 different regime changes while with New York. And those units, under his tutelage, under his watch, they produced big plays. They developed good special team players. And Boyer hopefully is able to bring that to San Francisco because they badly need it. Before we continue to push forward on today's show, are you a real one? If you are and you haven't subscribed, do so right now by hitting that sub button. I hit you with Niners shows, sometimes multiple Niners shows every single day. So join the nearly 160,000 people worldwide who are subscribed to this channel. Speaking of real ones, Real One shirts available right now. Get yours today in red and black. You can support the program, but also let everybody know on the streets that you're a real one. Head to chatsports.com/real149. I'll put that link down below in the show notes and attach to the pinned comment of today's show. Why did the Niners trade Jordan Mason? After San Francisco had put that second-round tender on him, the Niners decided to trade him away to the Minnesota Vikings. And now for Minnesota, they've gone all in this offseason, and I like their 1-2 punch in the backfield with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And I just want to clear up some confusion with that second-round tender. Just because the Niners put that second-round tender on Jordan Mason doesn't mean the Niners were automatically going to get a second-rounder back. If a team would have signed Jordan Mason, they would have had to have forfeited a second-round pick. If he came back to the Niners, he would have played under a salary of $5.3 million. Well, a team wasn't going to give up a second-round pick and pay Jordan Mason. And clearly the Niners didn't see value in wanting to pay Jordan Mason $5+ million. Now, I voiced my opinions here on the show, on social media. Fan base seems to have been pretty split and still is split on this trade. Why I didn't like it, I think Jordan Mason's a really good player. I think he has a unique skill set with his ability to turn garbage into gold in running with physicality, brute force, that type of style. It's rare to find at the running back position. People tried to tell me that he's injury prone. Jordan Mason isn't injury prone. What he is a unique player, and I'm not in the business of getting rid of good quality players. And the Niners, in my opinion, don't have enough good players on this team going into 2025. And in theory, yeah, the Niners have Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo. And some people tried to respond to me and saying, did you forget that they had McCaffrey and Guerendo? Mason was going to be RB3. In what world was he going to be RB3 behind Isaac Guerendo? And let me also say, Christian McCaffrey is about to be 29, injury prone. He's also coming off a year in which he had bilateral Achilles tendonitis and then a PCL injury. Isaac Guerendo, flashy player, has a lot of ability, is always hurt. And he's had hamstring issues for years in college. And in high school, he had some hamstring issues. What did he have at the NFL level? More hamstring issues. All the Niners really are doing, moving up some picks in the 5th round. That has been a money round for them. But another reason why I like Jordan Mason, this Niners offensive line isn't good enough, but because he runs with such force, he can make up for bad offensive line play in picking up yards after contact. I will say, in the 2025 NFL Draft, this probably factored into the Niners' thinking. This is a very deep running back class. And on day 2, day 3, you can find yourself a really talented running back. I think there are 2 backs who could go in round 1 on the Thursday of the draft. That's Ashton Jeanty of Boise State and Omarion Hampton out of UNC. I think those are the 2 top backs in this class. But day 2, day 3, there's still plenty of quality running backs available with a lot of depth at that position. Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. Cam Scadaboo out of Arizona State. Quinshawn Judkins out of Ohio State. DJ Giddens, Kansas State. RJ Harvey, UCF, Trevor Etienne, Georgia, Bashal Tutin, Virginia Tech, Caleb Johnson, Iowa. And a lot of these backs ran very fast at the NFL Combine. They're all different styles that they have to offer, but all are very talented. For the Niners, there's one player I really like. After the Niners traded away Jordan Mason, it just feels like Cam Skattebo is a San Francisco 49er, and I love the fit if the Niners can somehow draft him day 2 or day 3. He has unbelievable contact balance. You try to upend him, he has such a strong lower half where he's able to maintain his footing and balance to pick up yards after contact. And I love his combination of power and speed. It's almost disrespectful to compare him to a fullback because he's a lot more than that with his running ability, his athleticism, his speed, but also his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a very versatile weapon, and his career numbers, very impressive. What he was able to do at Arizona State last year, both running it and catching it, 293 carries with the Sun Devils last year, 1,700 yards, and 21 touchdowns. He was a transfer from Sacramento State, where he was still a really productive player. Receiving-wise in 2024, he added 45 catches for 605 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think that Kyle Shanahan could use him as a really interesting chess piece for this Niners offense, where he can get carries as a running back. He can catch balls out of the backfield. You can use him as a fullback. You can line him up out of the slot as a little bit of a decoy. Will the Niners be able to pass up on the temptation of taking him if he's on the board in the 3rd round? Probably not, and I'd be fine with it, even though the Niners have missed on a couple of running backs in the 3rd round in recent memory, like Trey Sermon and Ty Davis-Price. Both of those players no longer with this team. So which running back do you like the most for San Francisco? Want to hear from you down in the comments section right now. As always, we appreciate your feedback, and we want you to voice your opinions. As for the last topic of the show, what happened with Dre Greenlaw? Why couldn't the Niners find a way to bring him back? Even after the Denver Broncos offered him a deal early in free agency, San Francisco tried to convince him to come back. They weren't successful in doing that. Greenlaw signing a 3-year, $31.5 million contract in base value. Now that the contract details have been released, he gets $11.5 million of fully guaranteed money, $2 more million next March. San Francisco could have paid this. They gave a lot of money to Luke Farrell, a backup tight end, and Kyle Juszczyk, a fullback. And here's what Adam Schefter had to say about the Niners trying to reverse the decision of Greenlaw. They were pushing to get that done. They were trying to flip his decision back to San Francisco. I think they were pretty persuasive, but not persuasive enough. And why did Greenlaw want to leave? Why did he stay firm with his decision to go to Denver? Well, the Broncos have a really good defensive coordinator in Vance Joseph. He gets to play for Sean Payton and an upstart team in the AFC. He also might just want to get out of the shadow of Fred Warner and prove that he can run a linebacker room as the number 1 backer on a defense. And do players think, shoot, the Niners Super Bowl window is in the rear view. They're resetting a little bit, getting rid of all of these players, shedding salary. They're not contenders any longer. Let me go to a contender in the Denver Broncos. Could have been Greenlaw's thinking. Be sure to give me a follow on social media. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Give me a holler.